What if I told you there was a skill that could transform your entire worldview? A skill that could give you a sense of ease and freedom regardless of any external circumstances. If it sounds too good to be true, stay with me, as today I'll talk about this skill meditation and how it can change your entire perception of reality, and share how it has for me. If you're new here, I'm Modern Monk, and in this channel I explore and promote ways to have more mindfulness in our daily lives. A skill that helps us stay in the present moment, which is the key to living a happier life, as our minds are often trapped either in the past or the future, which makes no sense because the present moment is all we really have. Firstly, let's get some concepts out of the way. Since the word meditation can be put on a lot of things these days, I want to be very clear that the technique I'm talking about is the simple sit down, place your attention on your breath, and keep it there until it wanders. When it wanders, and it will, simply bring it back and repeat this process as many times as you like. You don't have to meditate on your breath. In fact, you can meditate on a lot of things, but breath is the most potent and highly advisable for beginners. The way meditation rewires your brain is through these experiences I will call insights. Insights in the context of meditation are these deep intuitive realizations about the models of reality. Since they're not intellectual but intuitive, it's a little hard to explain, but I will try anyway. In Japanese, these experiences are called satori, or sudden enlightenment, and in many cultures they lead to a state which is referred as awakening. These experiences can be small and incremental, or huge and irreversible. People from all over the world, at every point in history, have recounted on having these satori experiences. For people who experience a major insight or satori, the whole world seems to change, because it changes the way they see the world. Do you have to meditate to experience these intuitive realizations? Interestingly enough, they can happen at any time. However, that is far less likely. I have experienced some small and big insights outside of meditation, and I'd like to share one of these episodes with you. It all starts a few years back with me laying on my couch reading books about running that my friend gave me. Those books greatly inspired me to become a runner. As time went on, running became who I am, or in some sense, I became running. It happened because it gave me so much that I couldn't see myself living without it anymore. It took me on an epic adventure. It made me the person I always wanted to be. It made me happier, it made me more relaxed, it made me more disciplined. It taught me that winning doesn't matter. It taught me to focus on myself, and in some sense gave my life a whole deeper meaning. Although these feeling states didn't always last, it was my purest source of happiness. At least that's how it felt like to me. My connection to running was and still is truly magical. I am very proud of it. One day I'm getting ready for my run, I'm putting on my shoes, and I set out. I'm running by the river, meditating on my foot strike, enjoying the present moment, when suddenly I get this ache in my heel. I decide to cut my run short and see what this is about. I get home and the pain gets worse. I can barely walk. I hope that it will pass away, however, and plan a recovery run for the next day. The next day I get up, I hop on my bike and head to the stadium. It's where I would do all my recovery runs. I try to run and I can't. It hurts. It hurts real bad. I feel this deep intuitive realization that this won't be a few days problem, that I'm going to be stuck with this pain for a really long time. I feel very sad. I get home, I lay on my couch, and I stare at the ceiling on the verge of crying. As my wife is about to leave for her shift at the hospital, she asks me, "What's wrong?" I said, "I hurt my ankle. I won't be able to run anytime soon. I understand it's not a big deal, but I just can't help myself. I'm really sad right now." My wife leaves and I feel like taking a nap. So I go to my bed and take a nap. When I wake up, the first thought in my head is, I am just part of an everlasting process. I have no control. It was so weird. It felt as if all of my pain just got washed away. During this period, I was meditating every day. I was quite deep into my meditation journey, and this being part of a process is one of the major insights that I have read about in meditation literature. From that point forward, I have never felt bad about any external circumstances in my life. So as you can see, these experiences can happen at any time. However, meditation is like a furnace for these experiences, and your mind is the logs. They will usually happen to more advanced practitioners, as it takes time to develop certain meditation skills to increase the likelihood of them happening. Like say you wanted to learn how to do a handstand. You would need to develop certain muscles like your shoulders and learn some skills like balancing. In the same fashion, you need to develop certain mind skills. Meditation, like any skill, will require patience and diligence to prove any results. There is a specific style of meditation called vipassana that is designed to increase the likelihood of these insights occurring. It is even sometimes called insight meditation. And while there are some specific meditation techniques to increase the likelihood of some specific insights, just focusing on your breath can get you far enough. Let's have a closer look at one of the other major insights, the insight of impermanence. Or in other words, that nothing lasts forever. We as humans are the only species that understands its limitation of existence. This naturally means we fear death. We all understand intellectually that we're all gonna die one day and that nothing lasts forever and that we have no control over it. So if we have no control over it, we shouldn't fear it, right? But our minds still fear it. This is because intellectual information has little value without practice. It's as if I told you how to swim and then threw you in the swimming pool. You would drown. The insight of impermanence teaches your mind to act without fear, to act with freedom and liberation. It's as if now you know how to swim, and when thrown in the swimming pool, you will not drown anymore. Your mind does not fear death anymore, and you feel more relaxed and free. Another major insight in literature is referred as the nature of suffering. I think the quote of Dalai Lama sums this one up perfectly. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Before my meditation journey, I was always a person who would get agitated by the smallest of things. I remember sitting in front of my laptop doing my desk job, and any minor inconvenience I need to overcome causes a surge of angry thoughts in my head. Oh my god, I need to do this as well now. Oh my god, this guy didn't do his job good enough, so now I'll need to take care of it. Rah rah rah, everything sucks. Fast forward some months later, I'm laying in my bed. In my search for happiness, I'm trying to choose the next book I'll read. I've read in some prior books that meditation is really good when it comes to happiness. So I decide to pick up a book on meditation. And I dive quite deep into it, as I do with all the things I'm trying to learn. Few months into the practice, I'm sitting on my cushion, observing my thoughts, noticing how they arise and pass away without any effort. Noticing how emotions are just physical sensations that also just arise and pass away without any effort. One day I find myself in the kitchen, where my then soon-to-be wife was making some food. I'm sitting there and I can physically feel I am getting angry. There's this tingling sensation in my stomach. Before, I would never distinguish it. I would always attach my thoughts to this feeling, and I would think that I am angry because of X or Y or whatever. But then there were no thoughts in my head to attach this feeling to. My wife asks me something insignificant, naturally causing some thoughts to arise. Before I answer, I notice how highly influenced my answer was going to be by this sensation of anger. So I think really hard, choose a more appropriate answer, and I leave the kitchen and I go lay on the couch and observe this sensation of anger with all my attention. After a few minutes, this feeling state, this emotion, passed away, and I felt whole again. It was at that point that I truly realized what it means that suffering is optional. That our thoughts essentially cause all the suffering. You see, suffering is different from pain. In the words of Martha Beck, one of the best life coaches in the world and a famous book author, pain comes from events. Psychological suffering comes from how we deal with those events. It can grow exponentially without any pain. Even when you're curled up in a comfy chair, suffering can make you wish you'd never been born. I could really relate to that, as I felt like that for many years until I went on my quest in search for happiness. Maybe you have some stories where thoughts were causing you to suffer more than you should have. Let me know in the comment section, I would love to read all about it. There are other insights, and while these experiences are highly subjective and impossible to measure, they are quite observable. Scientists have found that this awakening is associated with certain brain states. Some neuroscientists have shown that meditators who've spent many hours practicing have unusually dense tissue in the brain that is related to empathy, love, and joy. In some sense, they are literally rewiring themselves for happiness. Neurologist Andrew Newberg, after a lifetime of studying the brain, writes, Based on our scientific evidence, I now believe that the stories found in ancient texts are real, in that they are related to specific neurological events that can permanently change the structure and functioning of the brain. The path toward enlightenment is not only real, but we are biologically predisposed to seek it. There's this feeling of an aha moment that is highly related to a decrease in activity in two areas of the brain. These areas are associated with the sense of being a separate thing, distinct from the rest of reality, and the sense of being in control of ourselves and our situations. Monks who've spent many hours meditating seem to have these two areas completely switched off, which very much aligns with the way insights reshape your perception of reality. They make you feel as if you're one with everything and that you have no control over everything. Daniel Goleman of Harvard and Richard Davidson from the University of Wisconsin have done years of research on the neurology of meditation. They found that persistent observing of one's thoughts can change a temporary brain state of unity and love into a permanent structural brain trait. And it doesn't require years of meditation in caves. In my experience, it took me about 6 months to get quite advanced. As Newberg put it, our brains are biologically programmed to move towards enlightenment. I personally can't say if I've experienced this whole awakening, as it is all highly subjective. However, my worldview has shifted many times, whether it be from meditating or from some of these moments that I've shared with you today. What I am sure of though is that at some point during this journey I became very happy. Therefore, I hope this gives you some reason to go and explore your inner world. If you found this interesting, you might also enjoy this video where I talk about how this breathing technique changed my life, or try one of my guided breathworks. Thank you all so very much for being with me, stay mindful, and I hope to see you in the next one.